Can we have a seat, please? Grab your cup of coffee and we'll get started. We're running a little late.
The other one's in the back there.
Good morning. I'm Jim Roberts, executive founder of New, the network for entrepreneurs in Wilmington, and Whale, which is an angel network in Wilmington. Thank you all for coming out. We have two presenters today, but I need to thank our sponsors. Hello. Very good. So we want to thank our sponsors this morning, which is NC Idea. Andrea Cook is here. Thank you, Andrea. We want to thank the Frontier for letting us use the space. We want to thank Jim at Muddy Dog for the tasty coffee. Thank you very much, Jim. Krista is not here today. Please, again, keep her family in your thoughts over the holidays. And we'll all give her a big hug when she comes back. If that's appropriate anymore. Compete Agency with Eric and Scott. Imperative Product Operations. Vicky is not here today. NC State Global Training Initiative, Family Legacy, Family Solutions. So, of those of you who have downloaded the app, please check into the app so Casey gets a smile when he sees us later today. We have two presenters. The first one is STEM, the musical. So if she will come up, if you want to get ready.
That is a brave fashion choice, my friend. The velvet purple.
Laura.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just wait for our first slide to pop up and then we'll. Well, I can go ahead and say hello. Hi. How are you guys doing? We are Kevin Bananas and I'm Amy Pruitt, and we are the creators of STEM the Musical. There we go. So I kind of want to kick this off by using all of you guys to prove a point. So I'm gonna warn you. There's gonna be a call and response happening in the next 5 seconds. So finish this line. Conjunction junction. What's your function? Oh my gosh. Yes. How did you know that? That actually proves the point even further. Since you were children, music has been used to teach you things that you have learned so effortlessly and naturally that without any conscious effort on your part, that information has stuck in your brain and will be there for the remainder of your life. What Schoolhouse Rock did for civics, STEM the Musical is going to do for the sciences. As early as 3 years old, children are taught there are boy jobs and girl jobs. And for certain people of certain cultural and socioeconomic backgrounds, even more devastatingly, that some career fields aren't open to you at all. STEM the Musical exists to destroy those myths. We are very excited to tell you about our business, what we've accomplished so far, where we are heading, and hopefully give you all the information you might need in order to decide to work with us. Oop, I need a clicker. Or should I just say, do you have one? Will that hook up to our thing?
It's already hooked up. I don't know why it's right there. But.
Thank you. Is this magic? Here we go. Woo!
All right. Our aspiration is to be nothing less than a national brand and a global entertainment and educational series of musicals, products, licenses. And we will achieve this through a multi-phase, multi-stage process. What our first obstacle is, our first opportunity is to get in front of as many elementary and middle school students as possible while overcoming the inherent cost of production, travel costs that sometimes many schools can't afford. One of the best illustrations of this I can give, this is our second year of production. In our first year, we presented the idea of STEM the Musical to Wake and Durham County because it is a it's a national show with a local home base right here. And in Wake County, there are 86 elementary and middle schools, and on the strength of the concept, we were able to book 35 performances. In Durham County, the number was 0, which is stunning. The only difference was, in Wake County, the county arts organization has a subsidy program which defrays the cost for Wake County schools. Durham County has no such subsidy program. And so we're it's very clear that price for some is an obstacle. And working on that to bring those performance costs down is something we're working very hard to do.
So just to make sure we're all on the same page really quickly, there are a couple of different things that we call STEM the Musical. STEM the Musical Scholastic Edition is the 50-minute scholastic production that we bring into schools. It is a full-on musical theater production, singing, dancing, the works, and that's currently in production. We are also developing the full theatrical version of STEM the Musical, which is going to be a more traditional 80 to 90-minute show with an intermission, with all the bells and whistles, the kind of thing you might take the whole family to go see at DPAC. That is slated to debut in the fall of 2020. STEM the Musical Scholastic Edition is incredibly compact, lightweight. It takes 4 actors and 1 engineer to transform any space that a school gives us into our theater. These entities will eventually work in synergy together, kind of each part of the business fueling the other, and we also are planning to roll out merchandise, cast albums, licensing, etc. So there are a lot of future plans for how we will grow the business, and as you kind of see the graphic I made, they all work together.
We've performed this past year in many schools in New York, and we've had a number of New York administrators, teachers, parents tell us that this is the finest and most professional show they have ever seen in a scholastic setting. And when you couple that, the level of performance, the level of production, with the fact that the show delivers high-quality, targeted STEM instruction to children, it's something that's incredibly unique. We've had the innovation that we feel is our most true innovation, is that while you go to a piece of theater and you hear the lyrics to a song, we actually have multiple sets of lyrics to our songs, so that if we're performing for grades K through 2, and we have a song, for instance, called Math is Everywhere. And when we're singing about math being everywhere, that you look all around you in front of 5-year-olds, well, we can't say the same thing as if we're in front of a middle school class. So our lyrics revolve around things like greater than, less than, and then when we're in front of the older kids, we talk about the golden ratio and divisions of time. We meet the students where they are.
Now, some good news for any of you sharks out there. It turns out that the edutainment industry, that's the intersection of education and entertainment, is an incredibly profitable business to the tune of $500 million a year, and that's in this country alone. Nearly all of the 113,000 elementary and middle schools in this country pay to bring in assembly performances every year. We'll be an incredibly big fish in this pretty big pond. It's a robust and stable business. As you can imagine, audience turnover is complete every few years as students move up through the grades. And as I mentioned, we have plans to add future scholastic musicals that will relate to the original STEM and Musical Scholastic Edition, so that schools can have us back year after year, which will cut down on our turnover time.
Sorry that there's a lot of numbers and things that may be hard for you folks over here to see. But the way that our business model works is that we have a certain amount of production costs inherent in traveling with the show. There's hotels, there's vans, there's all sorts of that kind of thing, and obviously the cast fees. And this results in a daily rate of somewhere between $700 and $1,900 to actually produce it per performing day, with revenue somewhere between $1,900 and $4,400, $1,744. That's for the school show. So that school show, again, is phase 1. The theatrical edition, as is the case with any major theatrical touring show, brings in that neighborhood of $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 in revenue for a performance night, because you have merchandise, you have all sorts of other considerations. Our show is incredibly inexpensive to produce, even though it will be incredibly high-tech, because all of the costs are front-loaded in the development phase. So we have potential that is, if you know anything about the theater space in terms of, and the production space, the entertainment space, it's wild.
So in terms of proof of concept, in our initial 2-year development phase with the Scholastic Edition, we've done 85 shows covering 6 states. We began here in Wake County. We've tweaked and broadened the operation to now include the touring model, as Kevin mentioned, going many times up to New York and New Jersey. We're lean and mean on the road. Our complement is 4 actors, 1 engineer. We can fit all of our people, all of their suitcases, and all of our gear in one 15-passenger van. We are ready at this point to scale up to begin to do large numbers of shows in bigger districts.
So it's important to express that we have a dual mission here. Yes, we want to be a known player in the entertainment and education space, but we're committed to bringing STEM education to as many marginalized and disconnected students as possible. There is a gap in encouragement and messaging that happens at the very beginning. That gap in encouragement and messaging is responsible for an immediate gap in enthusiasm about STEM topics. That ultimately results in an enormous disparity in wage, a disparity in job opportunity. We have got to dispel the myth that STEM is for this person and not for this person. We have to dispel the myth that there are boy jobs and girl jobs. We have to dispel the myth that STEM is this elite thing that is only for some people and that it's incredibly complicated. And once we do that and we close that gap, then we can realize everyone's potential.
So, how are we contributing to the solution? We want to address the lack of positive messaging causing students to feel differently about STEM subjects. In addition to presenting a gender-balanced and multiracial cast, we also focus on the message, as Kevin mentioned, if you can hear my voice, STEM is for you. We want to help kids realize they already are scientists, they already are engineers, they already are explorers. We want them to keep that joy and curiosity alive and close the gap starting as early as possible.
And as this may be the only pitch you'll hear all year with a musical performance, we didn't want to disappoint you. I'm sorry, I just need a second because my Bluetooth temporarily forgot who I was.
Or remembered and did it on purpose.
Or it did it on purpose.
Is this guy on?
Yeah, maybe. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. So what we're going to do is just a little bit. You're catching us kind of mid-song here in the climactic point in STEM the musical. What happens here in our story, Stella wants to be an astronaut, and she gets the same kind of negative messaging that a lot of our students get all the time. Don't be too smart. Don't be too loud. Principals have told us about the transformative experience that their students have had, hearing Stella overcome those messages and be able to articulate her dream, her desire. Tyra Scott, I Climb.
I'm on a story, you're gonna watch me go further and faster the galaxies call. Why would you wish upon one little star when you can have them all? I want them all.
We would apologize for that because it's so early, but this is about 2 hours later than she actually usually performs this.
So, every kid in every school needs to hear that message. So, what are we looking for today? We are looking for all kinds of partnerships, from venture philanthropists to strategic partnerships with businesses and companies that can help us defray the cost of production, sponsorships, anything along those lines will help us further the mission and get the show in front of as many kids as possible. Business developers who have contacts with decision makers in large districts, anything along those lines. And yes, we do need cash. The theatrical production is going to cost in the neighborhood of $150,000 to produce. That includes the initial debut and the operation to send the show immediately on tour after the debut in fall of 2020, which we hope to do right away. If any of you know anything about, what it takes to put up a show, that's a very modest ask. Any musical you've ever heard of has a lifespan earning of about $20 to $500 million. So if we accomplish even a fraction of that, our investors are going to recoup their investment many times over.
That was a lot, and we know that we hope that you have questions, and we hope we can answer them. Thank you so much for listening to what it is that we're doing, and we'd love to open the floor and see if anybody has anything for us.
I need one of the microphones
Yeah.
to take around. Okay. All right. This is a tactical microphone. It works with the speaker system. Who's got questions?
Whoa, that's cool.
Ready? Ready, sir?
And you can throw it?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Talk right into the questions, correct?
I can hear you.
If we invest, we become like a stockholder. What's your position once you invest?
All options are on the table. It depends on your level, the level of your interest and your level of involvement. It can be a simple cash infusion. We are open to equity stakeholders. Currently, Kevin and I jointly own 98.5% of the business, so we have room if somebody really wants to come on board as a partner and really help us get this somewhere.
And more importantly, we've managed to get to this point with zero debt.
That's right.
Complete production of absolutely everything, and we don't owe anybody anything.
Feels a little awkward. Hello, welcome to the world, welcome to the ball. So as you probably know, women are greatly underrepresented in STEM. Is that an area that you touch on in this production?
We do, by virtue of the fact that the character Stella is the one who, so what you don't hear in the song itself is that there's a story built around the idea that the 4 students in the show are attempting to solve a great big mystery using STEM. Stella has kind of held herself back the whole time, and it turns out she knows all the right answers. So the other students are able to kind of break her out of her shell, and eventually, and it's representing through the story that girls can do this too. We pride ourselves, I can say we pride ourselves on being a female-owned business. 51.5% of the business is female-owned, and so we want to be an embodiment and also give that in our messaging. Does that answer your question? Okay.
But one thing we noticed, definitely, this is what happens all the time, teachers will say, that student doesn't pay attention to anything, and they didn't move, when, especially during something like I Climb, because it's a reflection of themselves on stage, saying the thing and articulating the thing that they are really feeling.
Can I say one more thing that you just reminded me of real quick? So we are all now living in a post-Hamilton world. And so we needed our show, speaking of engagement and making sure kids are paying attention, this is not a traditional musical. The music in our show never stops. The scenes in between the songs, even the instructional content, are all delivered through spoken word or hip hop. It's over a beat. So the music continues, the kids speak, our actors speak lines in rhyme, which we've been told helps the kids stay engaged. Teachers are telling us that they're trying to figure out what the next line is going to be that's going to rhyme with what they just said. And it also makes the songs flow seamlessly into each other.
Question here, right here.
Do you write all your own songs? Or?
Yes, sir. Kevin and I wrote the show.
That was beautiful. That was a beautiful production. I was just wondering though, before I came here, when I heard what you all were going to do,
is whether your musical and your songs would tie in with science and technology.
Yeah, what you sort of saw the heart of the show, but the educational sort of teeth that it has is based on one song per STEM field topic brought to life through music and theater. We actually have a song called Paper Airplane Samba, where they learn through the mechanics of thrust, drag, lift, and weight by building a perfect paper airplane on stage, all while doing a samba, and that's delivered. We know that and when you deliver math, when you deliver science, when you deliver these topics through the arts, the impact, the retention is just so much greater. But we're incredibly rigorous with exactly what STEM topics we chose so that they would be age appropriate and so that they would cover as broad a STEM genre as we could.
The show was developed in North Carolina, so we were writing the lyrics and we were writing the script. In one side of the screen, we had our script document open, and the other side of the screen, we literally had the state educational standards by grade level, so we knew that the choices that we were making in terms of the way we were illustrating these concepts were going to be age appropriate. And we also have gone back and integrated Common Core as well, which makes us, you know, people, some states like Common Core, some don't. The fact is that the educational standards for our purposes are incredibly similar. We just use the nomenclature of Common Core because a lot of states use it.
When I first heard what you were going to do, I thought you also might be bringing in some maybe famous science songs. And the one that came, there's one that always comes to my mind. It's Tom Lehrer, his Elements song.
Yeah.
You know, hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium.
Yeah.
Yeah, but really what we're doing is we're sort of replicating that in an original way. So we're developing a song right now called the Pluto Rap Battle. And over here you have a scientist whose Pluto is a planet. Pluto is not a planet, and they battle it out.
Question here.
Do you have any plans to make this like a video production where it's a lot more scalable and quick to go?
We do. We're hoping to connect, and we have a potential connection with folks at PBS, folks at Netflix, to be able to turn this into something that is an immediate, you know, Nickelodeon, to try to develop this into animation, get these characters going in a series. You know, that's what we mean when we talk about the national culture. We want these exact 4 characters to exist in a theatrical production, merchandising, television, animation.
Cool. And what is the cost difference that, like, because live has to be, I mean, I saw some of the numbers, it seems reasonable, but is this the focus? Are you going to try to go live all over the place, or are you going to try to transition more towards?
No, we want to do it all because the initial single cast is the test model. Where we're headed is to try to have multiple casts in multiple large cities. If we can get in front of a director of a school district that could literally put us in every Chicago school, that's an immediate cast that we hire in Chicago. And the cast is there. We have one in New York. We have one that tours nationally. We have one in LA. And then, but the thing is it's like it's a flywheel, and it has to grow. And then the demand is created for the animations. The demand is, so one drives the other. Amy mentioned about the theatrical production driving the school show. Well, if 10,000 children in a community have seen STEM the Musical in their school, what happens in the audience when the grand, massive STEM the Musical theatrical edition rolls into your town with 4K digital animation and projections that we're actually right now working on with Living Arts College in Raleigh to, now you have a built-in audience of those 10,000 students and their parents, and that's an enormous advantage versus other shows that kind of just roll into town without that built-in audience.
Question back here.
So, this is really cool.
Thank you.
But the STEM part has gone to STEAM, and you keep talking about the arts, but you leave the arts out of your name.
I love that you asked that, or I love that you brought that up. So we went back and forth when we were originally creating the show a lot. Do we call it STEM the Musical? Do we call it STEAM the Musical? And we have gotten the question, why not STEAM the Musical, so many times. We've actually put it into our marketing that we send to every school that we go to. We made the decision that the content was STEM, the vehicle was the arts. We've joked many times about getting the cast t-shirts that say, I am the A. By virtue of being a musical, we are extolling the arts. Kevin and I are certainly musicians and singers and songwriters, and the arts are deeply, deeply important to us. And so this is going to sound a little mercenary here, but one of the things we wanted to do was backdoor the arts into schools that weren't paying for them by packaging it with things that were incredibly important to the curriculum. So that's 100% top of mind for
It's
us.
very easy to get parents and students on board with a musical in a school. It's much easier to get it when a principal is on board with STEM in your school. And also, quite honestly, when it comes to being able to secure investments, be able to talk to business folks that are trying to build the STEM leaders of the future and catch them at a very, very early age. STEM the Musical won, and yet we hope to employ hundreds and hundreds of artists in the process.
Okay, and then why aren't you, since you're from North Carolina, why aren't you visiting public media in North Carolina, otherwise known as UNC-TV, and partnering with them?
We haven't done that yet, but that is definitely something we want to do. Do you have a connection there? I would love to talk to you about it.
This is, we call this our development phase. This was 2 years where we were first making sure that the content was solid, that the students were, that it was resonating with them. Then in our second year was more about creating a tour model. Could we profitably run tours to New York so that we knew that when we scaled and we grew that we were going to have a success? And now it's all about trying to spread it out as far and wide as we can and to get into these other media sources. So thank you.
Question back here.
So what is your marketing strategy?
Well, we have a couple of different things that we have to do, and one of them, unfortunately, is blunt force trauma in terms of getting hundreds and hundreds of emails of principals and PTA liaisons in various school districts, visiting booking fairs where a lot of personnel are in one room strictly for the purpose of bringing assemblies into schools. We really were shocked that it's a $500 million a year industry, but there are a lot of people out there that are doing similar, not similar because there's nothing similar to this, but talks on bullying, and there's other programming that happens, and so there are booking fairs and trade shows for this, and so we go to those, and we have marketing materials. We also have a presence on STEM.org. STEM.org identified us immediately and put us actually on their front page for their 22,000 tech partners. Anybody that visits STEM.org.
They are a credentialing body for STEM-related educational material and toys. They have contracts with Rubik's Cube and Disney, and we are the only theatrical production they've identified that is STEM-related enough that they endorse us.
Okay, we had time for 2 questions and we got to cut it off.
Cool.
Yep.
But there's time for networking after the event.
Sure.
Let me give you a few points instead of addressing them one by one. Let me throw them out there. And so a couple things. One is I think it's very inspiring. I can totally see how this would work. Couple things. I think that you're assuming an environment that people understand the scholastic concepts. As a business person, I got 2 kids that one is senior, one graduated. I barely have an idea what STEM even is.
Sure.
So I think you need to tell people what that even means. Because I think a lot of business people that might be able to give you money, they need to get educated a little bit about the basics of it, which you're assuming because you're doing it every day.
You're right. Thank you.
I think to get investors, some are gonna go in because they believe in your mission, but others are gonna need to see a better presentation of the numbers and how you're gonna actually make money. There are probably some examples of similar productions that you can say, hey, this thing was this much was invested in it, and it went this wide, and it made this much money for the investors. Like something that's somewhat related to what you guys are doing that you can use as an example to people say, oh, that did well, so maybe this will too.
Sure.
Another thing would be, I would like to have seen your total revenue compared to your current costs after you've made your big investment. So let's say at the beginning you made a lot of investments to get it up to speed, but you've done 85 shows, so I see the average amount per show that you make versus the cost, but what's your P&L been for the last 40 shows or whatever, so people can see, oh, if this continues to go, it's going to make money. But I think you need to show something like that.
To be fair to them, we kind of asked them not to get that deep in this presentation.
All right. Yeah. But if you're trying to raise money, and you want people to recommend, hey, you need to go talk to this guy or this angel or that venture capitalist.
It's good information to have in our
Yeah,
back
you need
pocket.
to be able to see that, at least maybe hand it out or something. And finally, have you guys considered going to some of the people that have backed some of the big shows in New York that are used to investing in this kind of thing, that would say, ooh, gosh, I made this much money on this production, maybe I can make a bunch on this one too. So
We would
just
have
my
to get
thoughts.
fully produced to get to that point.
You present them with a show that's already kind of
in Broadway shape.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're available, if you don't have to, if we don't have time for a question, we're available to talk.
This is the last one.
Last official question.
Quick question, who are your competitors?
Who are our competitors?
Yes.
So we've been researching this. We're not, we don't claim to be the only scholastic assembly that promotes STEM. To our knowledge, we are the only musical written to educational standards in all 4 of the STEM disciplines. To our knowledge, we are unique in that. So our competitors are more generally all of the other scholastic assemblies, the woman who comes in and does storytelling, the guy with the puppets, and a lot of them are trying, I can tell you, because I've performed in other scholastic assemblies before that were not this one, a lot of people are trying to shoehorn it these days. I was in an a cappella group that just sang a cappella covers, and they're trying to come around, groups like this are trying to say, oh, we're STEM, because we use microphones, and we tell you how our technology works. In terms of the rigorousness, we haven't found someone else yet doing what we're doing.
Because also it's an artistic presentation, it's sort of the thing, who is Hamilton's competitor? Everybody and nobody. If the thing is great, if the thing is just unique and one of a kind, there is a limitless amount of work.
Guys, you did great. That was one of our best presentations. So,